The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello there. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm CJ, and my co-host has just this moment arrived, and I'm going to bring him on camera right now, and here he is.
How you doing?
There you go. Just talk about getting right under the wire, Chip.
Another Wednesday.
The day after a council meeting.
Yes, and another day of the council showing that they care. They don't care a bit about the taxpayer.
Of course not. 2
more TIFs. And what did Kathy Ann say last night?
We've never denied a TIF.
We never deny a TIF. Of course, they also didn't say that every time they give a TIF out, the taxpayer gets hit with more money, because it's not like that tax revenue goes away.
That's right.
It goes into the tax base. So now, look, let's face reality here. Ocean State Job Lot was making enough money to move their location to a larger facility.
They paid $7 million for that facility.
They paid $7 million for that facility. And they're going to create, what was it, 9 jobs?
9 full-time jobs.
9 full-time jobs. Wow. And probably 5 of them will be from not Fall River. But the reality is, this is a company that's doing okay. When are we going to learn that TIFs don't help anything? All it does is lower their bottom line. And what happens? They leave when the TIFs are over, because here's a company that is doing okay in Fall River. Ocean State Job Lot fills a real niche in Fall River. It's always going to do fairly well. Those kind of places that sell really good deals and have stuff like that, they do well. The dollar stores, you're not going to see a dollar store going out of business in Fall River, because that's what people have. But this relentless...
And I don't see any of them getting a TIF.
This relentless attack on the taxpayers, and you know what disturbs me? And there should be a revolt. I mean, they should be storming the city council chambers with pitchforks and torches. Because how many times are they going to tell you they don't give a damn about you before you're going to wake up? How many times are they going to tell you this job? What kind of jobs do they create? By their all intents and purposes, didn't Kathy Ann say minimum wage jobs?
Basically, they're minimum wage jobs.
Fundamentally, 9 minimum wage jobs, and we're going to give them tons of money in tax. What was the price tag?
It's 180 some odd thousand.
180, almost 200,000. Let's round it off to $250,000. So, you know, we're going to give them this tax break. A company that's making a ton of money, enough to buy a $7 million facility.
And remember, they bought the facility before the TIF. They did all of this work before they even applied for the TIF.
Yep.
But Kathy Ann said, well, the mayor met with them before they purchased the property. It just came before the TIF board this week. That's not the issue. The job lot TIF passed 6-3. Cliff Ponte made it very clear. He said, I can't see giving a TIF to a company that's only going to be making mandatory or necessary improvements. Because they're going to spend $2 million on this for necessary improvements. New lighting, new HVAC, new parking lot, new lights in the parking lot. That's all mandatory stuff. It's not increasing the value of the property. And the assessor turns around and says, oh, but the property value is going to increase because they're occupied. You know, and Steve Long, of course, you know, Steve Long, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, bring your butt over here. You know, he's over there talking all nicey nice about, oh, I can see doing this, and we've got to do this, and we have to, you know, this is we got to look at the return we're going to get on this, because
in the long run, big return.
In the long run, we're going to get more money out of this than we're giving away. It's not the point of what you're giving away.
Wait a minute. What, 9 minimum wage jobs.
And 11 part-timers.
And 11 part-timers. Let's figure out their entire salaries and put that into the almost $200 million. I don't think we're going to make it.
No.
I mean, 200,000, I'm sorry, 200,000. But they're nowhere near 200,000. Part-time workers and full-time, they're going to be lucky. They're going to be lucky if cumulatively they make $65,000. And, look, I'm tired of these clowns. They speak out of both sides of their mouth and their derriere at the same time. Because how many times are we going to listen to this double standard? We got to do this. We got to get jobs. Well, you know something, Steve? I hate to tell you this, but we have double the state unemployment rate. More than double, actually.
And actually, that coming up in our show a little later, we have information about that. Yeah,
we have more than double the rate. All this crap that you're doing, we've been giving out tips for how many years now? Has it helped? No. Education, as we said, vocational education, apprenticeship programs, making people employable, and a lot that will attract businesses that remain in Fall River. And stop, look, I'm going to tell you something. Did you ever see that movie? I think it was called Annapolis. It was about a guy that went to Annapolis, and he was a big screw up. But he had a guy in his room that looked at him and said, you're my Mississippi. And he said, what do you mean by that? He said, well, I'm from Alabama. And he said, the only reason that Alabama is looked on as the worst state is because of Mississippi. He said, you're my Mississippi. He said, without you here, I'd be the biggest screw-up in Annapolis. Well, guess what? If it wasn't for Steve Long, Joe Camara would have the title of the biggest butt kisser for the mayor. So he's Joe Camara's Mississippi. And it's so obvious because everything is wonderful. What was that phrase he used about a year ago? About the vision he had. What did he call Fall River? A thriving metropolis.
Yep.
A thriving metropolis.
Now, we just lost 200 jobs.
You know something? They just put a 3% tax up on the marijuana without discussion. Guess what? They should have raised it to 4 because Steve must be using a lot of it. He must be using a lot of it because I don't know what kind of glasses he's looking at Fall River. But a thriving metropolis we are not. And we're not getting any better. The unemployment rate is horrible. Our best and brightest have to leave this city. And it's just ridiculous. But what irritates me is, where's the outrage? Where are the taxpayers? We should have a residential taxpayer revolt in this city. How many more ways are they going to figure out to increase your tax bill? How many more ways are they going to do this? Every single time they give a TIF, even to people who don't deserve it, and I don't believe TIFs are, if they can't make it without a TIF, it means they can't make it. And if they're here taking a TIF, most of the time, once those TIFs are done, as we said before, and the operating expenses are now not enough to defray labor costs in the United States, they'll move their plants or their businesses to someplace that can. Obviously, Ocean State Job Lot is a retail store. It's not like production work. But the only reason, hey, they give them a freebie. We just spent $7 million. Were companies doing well enough to move to a larger location? But let's go see the clowns in the cement factory of bad ideas, the cement bad idea factory, and we'll lower our operating costs even more. You think they're going to raise those 9 jobs above minimum wage in a pig's patootie? It's not happening. So, again, thank you, City Clowncil. 6-3. Beautiful.
Always lots of fun. Just so you know, it's $22,880 in minimum wages times 40 hours times 52 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's what the minimum wage jobs are going to create.
Yeah.
$28,880.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. I mean, they can go out and they can live on lobster and prime rib on that.
Hey, listen, you wonder why so many people are on assistance. They do better on welfare than working like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're making that kind of money. They're not entitled to the entitlements, and they're better off on welfare. And you wonder why? That's why we need education. But who cares? But again, where's the outrage? Where are the taxpayers? Taxpayers, come on. Call it. You get on our website and tell us you wanna start an action against the city council. You want to start something to represent the taxpayer, the residential taxpayer. Contact us. Let me see a few of you people so we can put together a group and because it's relentless.
You know, and it's not only that. They all go on Facebook and they complain. They complain, but they don't do anything about it. They've been complaining about the water issue for weeks. For weeks. But have they done anything about it besides complain? No, they just complain.
No. You're right.
Now here's the thing. One of the mayor's zombies, one of your friends.
Let me guess.
One of your friends, yeah.
I know.
One of your friends. Mr. Man Crush, you know?
Yeah, Mayor Crush, yeah.
Got all upset because last night Councilor Ponte came out and was talking about economic development. And he says, why is he defending Fiola? He wasn't defending Kenny Fiola. Kenny Fiola had a plan on how to handle things. He sent a questionnaire out every year to every business in the city. It was 13 questions. One of those questions was, do you plan on leaving Fall River? And if so, why? I think that's valid information that you may want, right?
Right. And, you know, the thing is, even if they lied, you could hold them to it, say, hey, we asked you.
And you put it on paper. And the thing is that defending it is not what was necessary. What's necessary is the fact that Cliff Ponte brought up a good point. There is no economic development in the city. None. Could the mayor have stopped Philip Lytelier from leaving? No, I don't think he could. Could the president stop it? No, I don't think he could have either.
But, you know,
could the governor? No.
No.
But you know what? At least if we had information about it happening, we could have planned accordingly.
Well, I don't know what the mayor was doing, but apparently he was saying that, he didn't find out, and they don't deliver mail on Sunday, and he wasn't aware, and he was upset that he said that the council president was, jumped the gun kind of, and why? You're going to tell me you're the mayor of the city of Fall River, but the city council knew about this closing before you did? Why? Where were you? Were you in Providence? Were you in Miami? Were you at South Beach? Isn't it kind of your job? Didn't you just give Kathy a stipend for about economic development? Didn't you hire a new special assistant, give her all kinds of new duties and, and responsibilities? Yeah, supposedly.
With the $15,000 bump?
Yeah, $15,000 bump. That it's really a pay raise, but he called it a stipend so he wouldn't have to run up past the city council and they say, God, she just got the job. She's already getting a $15,000 a year, pay bump, which is about the annual salary for those people at Ocean State Job Lot. So, but I mean, when are you going to get tired of this residential taxpayer? We had the debt override for the school, which will be coming, down the road, but it's coming. You got the water fees. You got these endless TIFs. When are you going to rise up as a group and charge the city council chamber? Fill it up.
Imagine if we passed an ordinance, not through the city council, through a citizen's petition, that required that every TIF that was to be granted had to be voted on upon the people of Fall River.
Yeah.
I mean, can you see that? I mean, they'd be beside themselves because they'd never get a TIF out. They'd be holding more elections just for TIFs.
Yeah. Well, as they said, they never saw a TIF they didn't give.
Exactly.
And it's not on,
and years
it's
ago,
not on the merit. It's like some company, and the reality is, what's a TIF? It's a TIF. But, I mean, there's no evaluation of these companies to see how they're structured if they have the ability to become long-term employers in Fall River? No. It's just, do you want it? Give me some make sure somebody donates to my campaign, and you got it. And by their own words, they're guilty by their own admission. She said in her recollection in 4 years, they've never, ever even not given a TIF. It's
right.
like, forget it. It's just put in for it. They don't look at it and say, well, you get something like, oh, it's manufacturing. Well, manufacturing probably isn't going to stay in Fall River forever, because once it gets to the point where the labor costs, even minimum wage labor costs, are going to be outlaying, they can move to Mexico and pay somebody $4 a week.
Oh, didn't that just happen?
Yeah, didn't that just happen? Or Bangladesh, how many, it happened in the mills, and that's the thing. They lie their butt off. When the mills left Fall River and went to North Carolina, who did they blame? The unions, the big bad unions, who got a livable wage and benefits for the people working, slaving away in the sweatshops. But guess what? We found out it wasn't the unions, because they've left North Carolina. So it wasn't unions. There's no unions in North Carolina. It's a right-to-work state. There are unions, but not in these kind of plants. They still left. Why? You know what the real reason is? Corporate greed. Money. Money men wanting all the money and looking at workers like they're subhuman species that are be treated like the machines in their factories. That's the reason. Corporate greed. Why did they move to Mexico? They can go victimize Mexicans and pay them crap for wages, give them no benefits, and pocket all the profit. They're not moving to Mexico, because you know what they do in Mexico to rich people? If they can find them, they kidnap them and hold them for ransom.
And nobody pays.
And nobody pays. It's true.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, one of my son's best friends was from in his class came from an extremely wealthy family in Mexico City. Kid was a brilliant kid. And I remember talking to him, and he said, my family has, they live on the outskirts of Mexico City. They have a compound. They have to actually hire security. They don't go into some areas because they kidnap rich people.
Yeah.
They kidnap everybody in Mexico. But, I mean, this is where we go. Bangladesh, where they chain them to the machines, everywhere where they can make a dollar.
That's
and,
it.
that's the thing about it. Let's be perfectly truthful. Big companies, big pharma, big anything, doesn't give two craps about you as a human being. You're a commodity. That's all you are. You're just a commodity. Because they don't care. All they care about is paying you as little as possible so they can pocket as much money. They won't take an acceptable profit. They want it all. They want the whole pie. You can't even get the crust. If they could do it today, although it's pretty close to it, they would reinstitute slavery and have you work for free. So if you're not irritated by now, and give them more TIFs so we can get minimum wage jobs in Fall River that don't last. Last hired, first fired. That's what Fall River's new slogan should be. Not make it here.
No, it's fake
even
it
though
here.
It wasn't made here. Let's make it.
Neither are the banners.
That's what I'm saying. The banners weren't even made here. But our slogan should be, come to Fall River, where your job will be last hired and first fired.
That's it. Hey, the other TIF, it wasn't a TIF, it was a tie, a tax incentive exemption, was on the Durfee Tech building.
Yeah.
Alan Macomber wanted that, and they justified it by money. Oh, well, we're only collecting $4,000 in taxes right now, but in a couple of years, the building's going to be worth $17 million, and we're going to collect about $100,000 a year. So if we give a little bit away now, we're going to get more later. I can understand that. But you know what? I've heard this over and over again. They say, oh, and this is residential property. Wait a minute. You're putting commercial enterprise in this building as well. And just like Commonwealth Landing, which is residential, and it's not, it's commercial, because it has commercial functions inside the building, they should be taxed at the commercial rate. And personally, I think that any of these large apartment complexes should be taxed at the commercial rate, because those are commercial enterprises. They're only there to make a buck. And maybe it's time that the city council start looking at that. Give the taxpayer some relief, the residential taxpayer. These are big companies making money because we're not taxing them properly. I've got a problem with that.
Well, you should, because, you know, the reality is, look, that promise of, oh, it's always in the future. The checks in the mail.
Checks in the mail, yeah.
The checks in the mail, remember that, and all the other promises, I can't go into it, they'd be bleeped out on you know,
beep, 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 beep,
some of the other ones. But the reality is that, you know, I'm going to wait to see that $17 million property paying taxes, because I'm going to tell you something. It's not going to happen in your lifetime, my lifetime, and probably your children's lifetime. It's always the promise of you know, wait, the checks in the mail. You know, I guess the city of Fall River doesn't know what triage is. You know, we're bleeding to death here, and what we've been done is we're classified as, well, we'll take care of that later. We're not the first patient in line. We've got to do something to resuscitate this community's economy, and that is educate people. Get them in apprenticeship programs. This baloney of bringing in minimum wage jobs and making rich people richer doesn't work. They've been doing it for the last 10 years. It's not going to happen. And I'm telling you, it's like, when is the residential taxpayer going to say enough is enough? You know, they should be down in front of City Hall with pitchforks and torches. All right, next, what do we got? Marijuana?
Well, let's talk about the unemployment rate, because we brought it up quickly.
Okay.
The unemployment rate now is 7.8% in March, down from 8.2% in February. So we went down 0.4. Hey, isn't that great?
Wonderful.
And it was tied with Eastham, having the 9th highest unemployment amongst the state's 351 cities and towns. The city has a workforce of 41,083 people in March, up from 40,850 in February. There were 37,878 employed and 3,205 unemployed. That doesn't include people who are collecting benefits,
or
like
who have exhausted their benefits. So when you have that much of a de minimis change, it really means it hasn't changed.
Exactly, and so, it's still almost twice the national
that's right.
average.
It's still almost twice the average. So.
Yep. And Mark Dion said to leave the mayor out of the loss of jobs. I'm going to highlight this quickly, because we're really running out of time fast today. His column, living in Dion, yes, leave the mayor out of it. And so is that the mayor of Fall River can be blamed for everything, including but not limited to unemployment caused by national recessions, global warming, decades-long movement from cities to suburbs, and, of course, the closing of any business in the city. And he put in his column, which I thought was interesting, that when good things happen, that the mayor had no hand in whatsoever, he takes all the credit for it. So why shouldn't he take all the hits for things that close on his back?
Well, as you said, they do. So, hey, but let's, you know, the reality is, judge the community by what you see around the community. Potholes, dirty streets, crime, and have they improved since he's become in? No. All we continue to get is promises. You know, we were going to have the Hanging Gardens of Babylon down at some parking garage in his first term.
Instead, we condemned the parking garages.
Instead, we condemned it. So there's no Hanging Garden of Babylon up on the upper deck. So, but let's get to the contract for DCM, huh? That was quite the. As I said, the second biggest kisser, Joe Camara, you know, even though Councilor Pelletier said, let him go, he said he's lost in the woods, he doesn't know what he's doing, nobody can find him.
He lacks the skills to deal with people.
You can't find him, but Joe Camara, in his perfect political positioning, yeah, kissing, but also, here's a guy that's proven that he is a pure politician. Because what's the politician's answer when somebody isn't doing their job? Give them more time, and maybe even give them a pay raise. Because that's what they do. Because that's what taxpayers, they don't care, it's the taxpayer. Non-performance normally means they're going to get more money, and they're not going to lose their job. They'll just slide them over into another job. They never disappear. And that's one of the problems. Like I said, you know, taxpayer, residential taxpayer, homeowner, when are you going to get tired of this? This, and that last night's meeting was an indictment on Fall River government and their insensitivity to the residential taxpayer.
Well, at least they're going after marijuana for a 3% tax.
Ah, well, yeah, well.
So if these 3 places or 4 places make a lot of money, maybe we'll make some as well. But I saw that as a no-brainer. That was going to get passed without, and it passed unanimously. So that was a no-brainer.
Well, I can guarantee you one thing, that no matter how much money they make, we're not going to see any reduction in our tax rates. You're not going to see any savings in anything, because they're going to do exactly what they did in Atlantic City with the billions of dollars they made in Atlantic City. They're going to use it for political purposes and not
and political favors
in
and
the
friends.
community.
Yep, exactly, and that's what's going to happen here. You know, I spoke briefly about Councilor Ponte because he wants answers. He wants economic development answers as Phillips leaves Fall River, and that's okay. And again, the Jombies came out and started defending the mayor already. And Steve Long, again, turned around and says, I don't have a problem with discussing this, but I don't want any finger pointing. I don't want any finger pointing. We're not going to point the fingers at people for not doing their jobs. We have one guy doing this job, CDA, Michael Dion, which may even be a violation of the law that Michael Dion's doing it. He's not paid to do economic development.
Right.
It's just like the banners. Did that ever go out for an RFP? That might be a violation of 30B. I don't know. But does anything make any sense in this city? Never. Never.
No. And again, they don't want any finger pointing because somebody might start pointing a finger at him. The Carpenters Union being sold will become a mosque.
Yep.
Oh, well,
they actually closed down 1305, and they've now been merged. 2 Carpenters Unions have been merged. But the thing is they're saying that they're growing because they need drywallers. They need people who have an experience in drywall. So if you have experience in drywall, contact the Carpenters Union. You may be able to get a job.
And I got to get one. It's one of my, I came in and I didn't have a, this is a nice one. Roderick's Quiet, the Senate pays $230,000 to investigate Rosenberg, who you could see him following every time they show that little excerpt of him. You can see him following him out of the chamber like a puppy. Again, the epitome, the height of the state political bureaucracy.
Yeah, he's on the investigating. He's on the committee of ethics or whatever they may want to call it. But we have to hire somebody outside because we know that we can't be impartial on our committee because we owe the Senate president our loyalty.
Yeah,
but remember, Massachusetts is one of the few states that's had so many speakers of the House get escorted out in handcuffs. So
I think we lead the league in that.
Yeah,
but you really believe they're going to vote? They're going to hire anybody that's impartial? They're not.
No,
they're going to make sure. Look, it's in the tank, and
we know it's in the tank.
We know it's in the tank, and welcome to the world of politics. And it's a sad state of affairs that. I'll bet you he's still getting his stipend.
I bet he's still getting his money, too.
Yeah, he's still getting his money, still getting his stipend. And guess who's footing the bill for this? The taxpayer.
The taxpayer, as usual. Why not? It's always the taxpayer's fault. Hey, I can't believe it. Guess what?
What?
We're out of time.
Well, we'll see you Friday. Stay angry. And remember, residential taxpayers, start contacting us on our CAG page or on our Spindle City page. But let's see some interest in, instead of flapping, Instead
of flapping your jaws, let's see you do something about it.
Let's see you do something. Let's unite.
Stay angry, everybody.